they were running tests on. They was really preparing the world for what they would do to us. They put fluoridated water against the so-called Jewish poor people that was sick. They were using fluoridated water. Now they got fluoride in your water. They had what you would call a military setup through the youth, a youth military movement. Now Barack Obama is following that. They had it where everyone was claimed a terrorist and people were snitching on each other. Now you have that with Janet Napolitano in the United States with Homeland Security, and have people watching each other. It's the same plan they rolled out during Hitler's time that they're actually using for us now in the earth. Let's go to the book of Daniel.
Daniel chapter 10 verse 12.
Read.
Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me.
But the prince of the kingdom of Persia did what?
Withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia.
So this showing you a battle that happens in the spiritual world. In order for a kingdom to fall or a kingdom to rise, a kingdom must fall. So the spirit was trying to get the kings of Persia to fall so the Greeks could come in. But Christ says he had to call Michael in to help him war against this demon that was over the Persians. So that the Greek Empire could start. Because after the Greeks, the Romans would come, and then the Romans would fall, and then our kingdom would come next. So Satan got these spirits that operate to try to stop prophecy from happening so that they can keep the kingdom. If they can hold off prophecy, that's another day the children of Israel will stay in captivity. I hope you all are following me here. So Daniel and the prophets was asking, when will this come? When will we have an opportunity to receive the promises that you said we would get through Abraham? And he would tell the prophets, well, listen, we would have done this already, but Michael had to come and fight against this demon that was over the Persians so that we can fulfill the prophecy of the Greeks coming in. The same thing happens. But see, Satan through each empire perfects based on his downfall of a prior empire. So you had the Egyptians who had God's people, which are us, in captivity. Before that, you had the Babylonians who came up with Sunday worship, and they came up with the mindset of cities, because with the city, you can control the masses of people. If the people are scattered out, you can't do mind control. Nimrod came up with that. We must make exciting cities with game so that everyone can come into the city. Then we can count them. And if we need to destroy them or come up against God's people, we have a geographical location and we know exactly where to find them. Nimrod came up with that. After Nimrod, you had the Egyptians, who was under the Anunnaki, who are also what you would call children of the white brotherhood. All right. They got their technology from the Anunnaki, or the sons of Anak in scripture, which are Nephilim, or the children of fallen angels. Then you had the Assyrians, and you had later on the Persians. But Satan himself said, you know what? I'm going to be the leader over these particular people, which is the red brotherhood. Instead of having a spirit over the nations like the Persians and those that preceded it, the Greeks had a god over them, or an angel over them. Satan himself is the god over the Romans. So the Pope, the Queen of England, the Bushes, they sit with Satan himself. They get direction from Satan himself. All right. There's a lot we're going to go into here, but I want to go to the next verse. Read it.
Verse 20. Then said he, Knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come.
See that? He says, listen, I'm going to fight with the prince of Persia because we withstanding this demon that are trying to keep the Persians in power. And then after that, the prince of the prince of the Grecians shall come. So the Greeks had another god over them. So this is how these empires operate. They sacrifice to separate gods. That's why you look in the earth and the Asians have their god. The Persians have their god. The Muslims have their god. The Europeans have their god. The nomads have their gods. Everyone have a demon or a god over them. All right? But the Red Brotherhood have Satan himself. And we're going to show you. Let's go into the prince of this world. Chapter and verse.
St. John, chapter 12, verse 31.
St. John 12 and 31.
As a matter of fact, started verse 30. St. John chapter 12, verse 30. Yeshua answered and said, This voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out.
Now shall what?
Now shall the prince of this world be cast out.
Now the prince of this world shall be cast out. Now let's see who's the prince of this world.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 25.
Daniel's 9 and 25. Read.
Now therefore, and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince, shall be 7 weeks.
It says, Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem and unto the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks. So this is the time period up until Christ. Read.
And 62 weeks, the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times.
Read.
And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off.
That's when Christ was crucified. Read. Now Daniel is getting a timeline from where he is. Read.
But not for himself.
But not for himself. Read.
And the people of the prince.
And the people of the prince. Remember in John where it says the prince shall be cast down? The people of the prince were the Romans. The Romans are the people who killed Christ under Pontius Pilate. Read.
And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
And they destroyed the city and the sanctuary in 70 AD. To show you that the prince over the Roman Empire is Satan himself. The prince of this world. So some people like to just point to, okay, there's a white man. Listen, this thing, we ain't wrestling with flesh and blood. You can fight a white man. That's not the issue here. But you can't fight these principalities and powers not through physical force. You have to know what's ruling them to pray against those powers so that the Most High can fight for us as he did during Daniel's time. And see, and this is demeaning the work that needs to get done because you have people just concentrating on the pawns. When really there's a spiritual being behind the Red Brotherhood that we should be focusing on spiritually to take down. Read.
Let's sit on that.
Read. I need you to read that.
Okay.
In the sanctuary. And in the middle of 26.
Verse 26. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary.
That happened in 70 AD. They lied on us and said that we burnt Rome and they came up to kill us in 70 AD and we ran into Africa as we read in Luke. Read.
And the end thereof shall be with a flood.
And the end thereof shall be with the flood. And its flood is talking about the lies that came from the Roman Catholic Church. Christianity. That's the flood of lies that links directly into Revelation, the 12th chapter. Read.
And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined.
And it says, shall be poured upon the desolate. So these things, these destructions and floods will be poured. We in Daniel 9 and 26 and 27. It says, shall be poured upon the desolate. So these destructions that the Roman Empire and Satan is brewing up is aimed toward the desolate people. The people who were taken down in Jerusalem. That's where all this new world order, pain and suffering is aimed towards. Starting with our mental, then they deal with our religious side, then they deal with our physical side. Tearing us down piece by piece from generation to generation. This destruction is aimed towards God's people, a particular people. Okay, you all are following me, right? Now let's get to Barack Obama. The Native Americans are not red. I don't know where people getting that from. I know Native Americans. They are not red. That's just a term that was given them by the conquerors that came over into America. All right, let's go to the book of Daniel and let's get Barack Obama. Let's start at the let's start at let's start at the 21st verse. I'm at Daniel 11 and 21, and we're going to read through. Read.
Daniel chapter 11 verse 21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries.
He shall obtain the kingdom by what?
By flatteries.
By flatteries. That means he can talk well. He can flatter. Now, when you look into the prophecies, the Lord says there's nothing new under the sun. Back then, in old time, it was Antiochus Epiphanes who originally came up and invented the desolation of abomination that all the kingdoms would pattern themselves after. And you're going to find out that Barack Obama studied the Roman emperors who destroyed the children of Israel and are doing the same exact things. Now, in order to understand where we are in prophecy, we must first understand who we are and who did what to us. See, that's what we lost in captivity. We didn't have no understanding of the history concerning the fall of our people. But when you look back at history, the Romans never was for our turn. The Romans set up taxes against us. They set up selling stuff in the temple. They shouldn't making money in the temple of the Most High. They set up tax people. The tax program you see today with the Jewish people came from the same Jewish powers who infiltrated during the time of Herod, what they would call Herod the Great. Okay, the same thing again. They was aiming towards us, watching us, counting us, and biding the time that they would destroy us. Read.
Verse 22. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant.
Now, as you can see, it says about that flood again. That flood is bringing an inordinate number of religions, of ideologies to to a people. See, you can't flood a nation that have a God. Okay, that means how can you take